I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, November the 20th, where good things come to those who wait, namely the negotiated cattle sellers that waited until Friday to sell their fat cattle. They managed to get steady money for the most part, on a live basis anyway. Everybody that sold earlier in the week took less money, but that was a strong showing late in the week on Friday, and we've just been seeing that every Friday. We haven't seen the bulk of our negotiated sales, especially in the Southern Plains, until late, and the longer they wait, the better off they are. The earlier that they pull the plug, normally you take that much less. But also the speculators, the long positions on the futures market, were kind of impressed by that and had a pretty good showing on a Monday, which is unusual and kind of nice for a change. But look at the board on Monday. December live cattle futures up 80 cents to end the day at 116.15. February was up 27, ending the day at 120 even. January feeder cattle up 75 cents, 147.27, and your March up 35 at 144.32. Weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade on a fairly light negotiated 5-area movement of 87,400 head. Our live sales from early in the week until the very tail end, from 110 to 114.5. Bulk of your sales 114, which would be steady, but there were enough sales off the market that your live steers averaged just flat 113, which was down 70 cents compared to the weighted average of the previous week. Your heifers were a bit better because not as many heavies on there. 113.30, down just 38 cents for the week. Your dress trade 174 to 181, but your bulkier sales at the end of the week were 178, 177, kind of on your heavy carcasses, but saw a few sales stick out there, 180, 181, just kind of mixed bag around, and mostly to your regional packers. But your dress steer weighted average was 177.38. That was down $1.78, and dressed heifers 177.78, down nearly $2. But nationwide negotiated movement was 102,200 head, which there were a little bit more trading around the fringes of your 5 areas and way out west and back east than there was last week. But so that's kind of a typical nationwide movement like we've been seeing here for a while. Just 22% of those cattle selling for the 15 to 30 day delivery. But there was rumors on a Monday here of some 114.50 still available in western Nebraska. Didn't get any confirmation on that, but word was out fairly widespread, and I would be surprised if it wasn't true. However, those packers did forget to enter that information into your mandatory price reporting system, at least on Monday anyway, and so we may be a few days before we find out if that actually happened. But if they did sell some more cattle on a Monday, western Nebraska 114.5, that would be tipping the hand that they need some more cattle here before December, and pretty bullish sign right there. But things have just really turned around here in a week's time. A month ago on Monday, this whole cattle sector was really sick and just going down so fast you couldn't keep up with it. But got some footing in the calf market, got some really strong showing in what few yearlings are left, and your fat cattle trade has kind of recouped itself. But you look at your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on Cattle Market Central ended the week at 144.43, or actually ended Monday, 144.43. That was 13 cents higher than the end of last week. So kind of a positive showing around on a Monday, and not too bad at all. Before we talk about your Monday auctions, let's talk about the cattle on feed estimates. Going to have this report come out on Wednesday due to Thanksgiving holiday and things kind of slowing down the end of the week, but coming out on Wednesday. But November 1st inventories come in at 104.3. That's the average of the analyst guess. So that's kind of what we're working with. Your placements during October They're expecting 101, but a wide range of guesses from 94 to 104.3. And big marketings the way that the days fell, but marketings for October 104.2, so that would be a strong showing, but it leaves a lot of room to not quite make it too. But we'll see what that report comes out to be, and we'll see if it's a big market mover or not. But now let's look at your feeder cattle markets on Monday. Oklahoma City had 7,500 head, pretty good showing for them. Feeders, steers, and heifers $1 to $4 higher. I thought that they might be a little bit stronger, but that it was more stronger than I thought. Calves $1 to $7 higher, and didn't really break anything out from that, saying just on the wean types, because I'm sure there were some that weren't weaned, but just calves in general higher. Joplin Regional Stockyards 6,400 head. Yearlings there were sure higher, but they didn't hardly have any yearlings a week ago Monday, so it was kind of hard for comparison, but sure higher on the ones that were there, and I'm going to give you a quote on some that were darn sure higher. But calves still kind of struggling there, steady to $3 lower on the bulk of the calves. They're not in that full gamut of the wheat region there. There's some wheat not very far from there, south and west, but not as big a push on it as it would be right there in central Oklahoma. But pea-wheat calves steady to firm. That would be those weighing under 4.5 in Joplin. Russell Livestock Market had a good sale there on Monday. Russell, Iowa, 4,000 head, and a lot of good cattle on offer, and a lot more yearlings than they've been having, and probably as many yearlings as they'll have in one spot, probably all week in the Midwest up there. But calves were a lot higher, $5 to $9 higher on steer calves. Heifer calves maybe even more, sharply higher on yearlings. And I looked at that federal state market report, and I thought, wow, that's really a strong showing. But then went in and looked at Cattle Market Central market report, and look at this. How could he have nailed it any closer? Look at these strong showings in all those weight groups, and a pretty good test in most of them. And sure enough, yeah, those yearling are probably more just hard calves, but those bigger feeding cattle sharply higher. But had a rough sale there a week ago, and like I said, it was tough everywhere a week ago Monday. But let's look at some of those individual weight groups there. 661 head of steers in the 5-weight category, average 557 at 157.90. That would be $5 higher. Your heifers in your 5-weight category, nearly 700 of them, average 540 at 140.07. That was more than $6 higher than the weighted average a week ago. Some 6-weight steer calves, well over 600 head of them, average 646 at 151.52. That was $9 higher. And then mostly calves, but hard calves and sure good enough feeding cattle, 480 pounds of steers in the 7-weight category, average 739 at 154.09, higher than the 6-weights, and dang near as high as the 5-weights, and that was over $20 higher on the weighted average from the previous week. But you see how people in that part of the country there in southern Iowa, farmer feeder types and in the surrounding areas, they want hard, long-time weaned feeding calves. And they'll buy those. You get down into the southern plains, Oklahoma City and around, they want some long-time weaned, lighter weight, stalker type cattle that they can turn out on wheat, and that's just the difference of the region. But awful good showing in Russell, Iowa on Monday. Look at some individual quotes out of Joplin. I told you they sold some cattle pretty high. And just cattle, like I say, I'm not running Joplin down, and the guys there, those more boys that run that and own that outfit, they'll tell you the same thing. They sell cattle there. They're not going to have diamonds in their asses or anything like that. They're just cattle. Good feeding cattle, good stalker calves, and just put together type colored up cattle. They would be Okie type cattle, but maybe a touch more continental and things like that in them. Not so much like you would see further to the south and to the west, but they're just cattle, guys. But good condition on some yearling cattle in Joplin's regional stockyards. Colored up, put together deal there, but 61 head of them, weigh 852 pounds at $153.75. That is an impressive price, and I don't care what kind of cattle you're talking about or where you're talking about them at. Talk about a sale I've never talked about before coming through on Cattle Market Central. Stockland Livestock Auction in Spokane, Washington. I've got friends and family out there in eastern Washington. It's not a whole lot different in Amarillo if you get to driving around there and looking, except for they've got apple trees and we don't. But 69 head of 574-pound steer calves in Spokane, Washington bring $152, and that's not too awful shabby. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.